You know how it is. Every single day, it feels like there's just this constant flood of news about artificial intelligence. One minute, it's saving the world, and the next, it's a huge new threat. It's exciting, for sure, but it's also really confusing and honestly kind of overwhelming. So today, what we're going to do is cut through all that noise. We're going to get a really clear picture of where AI actually stands right now.
So let's start with a headline you've probably seen a million times. You know, a big brand like L'Oreal using AI in its day-to-day work. This is that practical, businessy side of AI we hear a lot about, making things run smoother, faster, more efficiently. Basically, AI as just another tool in the toolbox.
But then, you see something like this. A story that shows you just how complicated things are right under the surface. You've got top scientists at MIT raising the alarm that clinical AI might accidentally leak patient data that's supposed to be anonymous. So we're not talking about making ads anymore. This is a massive technical and ethical challenge right at the heart of AI safety. And then you get the stories that are just plain alarming. Reports about AI being used to create incredibly harmful deepfakes, which leads to governments talking about banning entire social media platforms. So you see, 3 headlines, 3 totally different angles. One's about business, one's about deep research, and one's about a huge regulatory fight.
It's no wonder our heads are spinning, right? With all these signals pointing in different directions, what is really going on with AI today? Well, that's the big question we're going to dig into. We are going to connect the dots between the labs, the real world, and the huge challenges we're all facing.
All right, to really understand where all this is headed, we have to go right to the source. We've got to pop the hood and take a look inside the engine room. This is the groundbreaking research that's making everything else possible.
Okay, so here's a term you're going to hear everywhere pretty soon, if you haven't already. Agentic AI. This is a really big deal. It's a fundamental shift. Instead of just giving an AI a single command, you can give these systems a complex goal, like, say, plan an entire marketing campaign, and it will figure out and execute all the little steps to get there on its own. That AI intern analogy, it's perfect. You give it a to-do list, and it just gets to work.
And the breakthroughs that are fueling this, they're happening at a dizzying pace. Of course, you have the giants like Google pushing the limits with raw power, releasing things like Gemini 3. But the really interesting stuff is happening in university labs. Places like the MIT IBM lab. They aren't just making the models bigger, they're teaching them how to reason better. And CSAIL is figuring out how to train neural networks we thought were impossible to teach. These aren't just minor upgrades. These are fundamental solutions that unlock entirely new abilities.
But hey, this technology isn't just stuck in a lab for researchers to play with. Let's talk about how it's actually making its way out into the real world, into your life.
Just look at this. In healthcare, you've got a version of ChatGPT specifically designed to review medical records. Over in retail, huge brands like Zara are using it to completely overhaul their operations, kind of behind the scenes. We already saw what's happening in marketing, and even in physical security, you've got companies creating AI agents for camera systems. I mean, it is touching almost every single industry you can think of.
And if you think this is all just happening at the big corporate level, think again. Look at this number, 59%. According to a BBC News report, that's how many people in Britain are already using AI to self-diagnose health issues. Let that sink in for a second. This isn't some far-off, futuristic technology. It is here, it's in our pockets, it's shaping our choices, it's happening right now.
But, and this is a really big but, this incredibly fast adoption comes with a pretty serious catch. For every amazing promise, it feels like there's an equally scary peril. It really is the definition of a double-edged sword.
Let's just put it side by side. On the promise side, you have things that are genuinely life-saving. The BBC reported on AI finding a lost climber in a few hours, a search that could have taken months. MIT is looking at how it can make our power grids way more efficient. But then you look at the perils side, and it is just as real. The creation of non-consensual deepfakes, that exact data risk MIT is worried about, and what one headline perfectly called the risk of autonomy without accountability.
And I want to be really clear, this is not some abstract philosophical debate. This harm is real. It's deeply personal. Dr. Daisy Dixon, a lecturer, had her images stolen and used to create sexualized fakes by AI. And her words to the BBC, they say everything. I felt humiliated and confused. That just cuts through all the technical talk and puts a human face on what happens when this technology is misused.
And it's because of stories exactly like that one that governments are being forced to get involved. The backlash is building, and now in the UK, the government is pushing its regulator to use every power it has, up to and including banning platforms that don't get this stuff under control. The message is pretty clear. The Wild West era might be ending.
So, that's the landscape, right? You've got mind-blowing innovation, incredibly fast adoption, and this growing battle between promise and peril. The million-dollar question then is, what happens next? How do we even begin to navigate all this and shape our AI future in a responsible way?
Well, it seems to be boiling down to three huge areas we have to get right. First, the rules. We need governance and policy. We're seeing international deals being signed and huge debates over whether our old laws can even keep up. Second is a focus on building trust and fairness right into the tech itself. You know, exactly the kind of work MIT is doing. And finally, we have to navigate massive changes to the workforce as these agentic AI interns and what some are calling pro-worker AI start to redefine what a job even looks like.
At the end of the day, when you look at all the research, all the different ways it's being used, and all these fierce debates, one thing is crystal clear. AI is not on the horizon anymore, it's here. And it's developing faster than anything we've ever seen. So the real question we all have to face isn't if it's going to change our world. That's already happening. The question is, how are we, as individuals, as companies, as a society, going to choose to shape it?